everyone, Uncle Jessy here. It's time for one of my favorite videos that I make all year. It's my top 5 last minute Halloween 3D prints. And the only criteria is that all of these prints should be things that you can run off in 3D print in less than 24 hours. And I'm actually getting this video out in time where you have a few days in advance of Halloween to actually get started on printing some of these for yourself. The first file that we're gonna take a look at comes from Flexi Factory, who designed this amazingly articulated skeleton hand that you can print in a left and a right variation. You can also print them in multiple sizes, and they are just way too much fun to play around with. This version right here, I think took 6 or 7 hours to 3D print, and it's just a really quick and easy thing for you to run off and print. No supports needed, and it's got this really great articulation action to it. And he also created a much larger version that you can print in 2 separate pieces and then combine together. And it's just this life-size skeleton hand that is so creepy and crazy fun to play around with. Oh, and by the way, it pairs very nicely here with my skull planter. That's a free design over on printables.com. Also, I'll be doing another follow-up video here using these files in another project later this weekend. Really excited to show you guys that one. It should be gruesome. I'm a big fan of the 80s and 90s slasher films, you know, those horror movies that are kind of cheesy but still fun to watch. And Creature Create has made these amazing articulating versions of some of your favorite horror film characters. This one here is my buddy Jason that I printed here on the Elegoo Mars 3, and it articulates so smoothly, and you can even set him up on the edge of your print bed here, or a counter, or somewhere where its legs can drape over the side. This is a really fun print, and there's a handful of other character options over on Creature Crate, including Michael Myers that I printed in white resin that's just really having a hard time showing up on camera. But my favorite is easily Jason. Yeah. Ugh. Next, we have these Bobblehead prints that really just kind of flex and bounce around, created by 3D Printy, that are free downloads and available over on printables.com. And there's a bunch of different variations of these, including different pumpkin heads to coffins to one of my favorite, which is this low poly bobblehead skull. And in fact, I liked it so much that I had to run off and print it much larger. I believe this was at 200% scale, and it just wobbles beautifully, absolutely beautifully here for this. The other really cool thing about these files, well, one is that they take just a few hours to run off and print, but also you don't need a multicolor 3D printer to print some of these. You're just gonna end up printing some of the parts individually with the particular filament colors that you wanna print them in, and then you can assemble them. And one awesome thing that 3D Printy included is he's designed these really cool springs that are all just 3D printed springs that are gonna print flat. Basically no supports on any of these, but there's also a tool that they designed where you can put the spring inside the tool, and then you guide it into the underside of the bobblehead top, and then it just sort of presses it in place. It's such an awesome design. Highly recommend checking these out. And it's not really Halloween unless you have a creative way to hand out all the candy to those ghouls and goblins that are stopping by on Halloween. So Fotis Mint designed a Frankenstein head candy bowl that even has a little top designed for it. So I scaled this up as large as it would go on my Neptune X, and it's basically a life-size version of a Frankenstein head, or near close there, where I have a huge amount of space for candy in here that we're gonna be using on Halloween. So impressed with how this turned out. This was printed with a 0.6mm nozzle as well. So when you get up close, you can definitely see some of the lines there with the details, but overall, so happy with how this turned out with this green Ziltech PLA as well. It'd be kind of fun to try and attempt to paint this, but I probably will just leave it as is. And then the last print might be the creepiest thing that I have ever 3D printed, and I absolutely love it. It is this zombie candy corn by the Monster Sandbox. This turned out so cool. Oh my gosh, it is the creepiest looking character. The Monster Sandbox I found over on TikTok just randomly showed up on my feed there, and the designs this person is making are so creepy and amazing, and thankfully reached out to them and asked if they could actually start looking into selling some of their files, not just the prints, and they were able to put those up on Etsy. So this file is up on there. So I went and purchased this and downloaded it and printed it here in this Elegoo gray resin, and it looks so good. It's so friggin', oh my gosh. This is definitely a file that I need to prime and get painted. It also is the perfect scale to hold an actual piece of candy corn. And yes, I went out and bought a bag of the nastiest Halloween candy available just for this video. So now I have a whole bag of candy corn that no one in my house is gonna wanna eat. I also wanted to take a moment to say thank you to today's video sponsor, which is Elegoo, the makers of the 3D printers that I used for all of these prints in today's video, ranging from the Elegoo Mars 3 to the Neptune X to the Neptune 2S. All of these 3D printers, you can find more information about them down below. They're just fantastic machines that I so enjoy printing with. And with the help of these 3D printers, I'm able to print off some of these amazing files that we're seeing in today's video in less than 24 hours. And I know I mentioned this is my top 5, however, I do have a few other standout files that I wanted to just call out because I've enjoyed printing them recently. We obviously have the Zao 3D standing ghost with feet. I mean, that thing's just been everywhere. We also have this Booh file here from Body 3D. That's a free file that you can find over on Printables. No supports needed. It's just a really easy, quick 3D print. Then we also have this Skull Octopus file. That's just a beautiful print. It's just a really simple thing that you can, again, run off and print on an FDM printer or a Resin 3D printer in no time. And again, going back to my childhood, Wekster over on his Patreon has created the creature from the Black Lagoon bust that is just a beautifully designed model. And if you're a fan of these old school monsters like myself, this is a must-have print. But these were my top 5 last-minute Halloween 3D prints that you should run off and try for yourself. But if I've missed something that you think someone else should be checking out, including myself, make sure to leave a comment of that down below. I also want to say a big thank you to all of my Patreon supporters for your continued support. If you're interested in my Resin 3D printer settings, you can find those over in my Patreon. And again, I'll be doing a follow-up video here over the weekend where I do a little bit more experimenting here with some of these bone-like 3D prints. Hey, thanks again for watching, you all. I'll see you next time. Bye now.